We are Group 12 and we are presenting the topic Independence of Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So, who is a CAG? The Comptroller and Auditor General of India is the constitutional authority in India established under the Article 148 of the Constitution of India. They have the power to audit all receipts and expenditure of the government body and state governments, including those of the autonomous bodies and corporations substantially financed by the government. The CAG is also the statutory auditor of government owned corporations and conducts supplementary audits of government companies in which the government has an equity share of at least 51% or subsidiary companies of existing government companies. The reports of the CAG are laid before the parliament or legislatures and have been taken up for discussion. So the Comptroller and Auditor General is appointed by the President of India and can be removed from office only in the manner and on the grounds that the judge of the Supreme Court is removed. The person appointed to this office should take an oath of office before the President or any other person appointed by the office of the President. The salary, service conditions, leave of absence, pension, and age of retirement are determined by the Parliament of India. The CAG is not eligible for any further office after the end of their period. The powers and functions of the CAG are subjected to the provisions of the Indian Constitution and any acts of the Parliament. The expenses of the administration of this office, including all allowances, salaries, and pensions, would be charged to the consolidated funds of India. The CAG is appointed for the period of 6 years or until he or she.
Now, let's look into the constitutional provisions of the CAG. Starting off with Article 148. It broadly deals with the CAG appointment, oath, and the conditions of their services. Article 149 deals with the duties and the powers of the Comptroller and the Auditor General of India. Article 150 says that the accounts of the Union and of the states shall be kept in such form as the President may, on the advice of the CAG, prescribe. Article 151 says that the reports of the Comptroller and the Auditor General of India relating to the accounts of the Union shall be submitted to the President, who shall cause them to be laid before each House of Parliament. The reports of the Comptroller and the Auditor General of India relating to the accounts of a state shall be submitted to the governors of the state, who shall cause them to be laid before the legislature of the state. Article 279. The calculation of the net proceeds is ascertained and certified by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, whose certificate is final.
I'll be highlighting the significance of CAG. At the core of parliamentary form of governance is the responsibility of the executive to the legislature and the financial control of the executive by the legislature. In order to enable the legislature to discharge this function properly, it is essential that this legislature should be aided by an agency, fully independent of the executive, who would scrutinize the financial transaction of the government and bring the results of such scrutiny before the legislature. The office of CAG has been provided for in the Constitution of India for this purpose. Thus, as quoted by Dr. Ambedkar, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India is the most important officer under the Constitution of India because he is to be the guardian of the public purse, and it is his duty to see that not a rupee is spent out of the consolidated fund of India or of a state without the authority of the appropriate legislature. In short, he shall be the impartial head of the audit and account system of India.
Now let's look at the different ways in which the CAG in the country has been undermined. Taking the famous 2G spectrum scam. On the 16th November 2010, the then CAG of India, Vinod Rai, revealed that 2G licenses had been issued to telecom operators at throwaway prices, causing a loss of Rs 1.76 lakh crores. Moreover, it was alleged that the licenses had been issued to ineligible applicants who had deliberately suppressed facts, disclosed incomplete information, submitted fictitious documents, and used fraudulent means for getting licenses. To access the spectrum, there were new entrants who earned a very high premium But in a free and fair bidding process, these profits should have entered the public account. Now let us understand where was the CAG undermined in this case. So the main criticism to the report now emerging is that the CAG exceeded his constitutional mandate as it attempted in a sense to change the policy of the government of India, which at that point was to promote telecom growth and not revenue maximization, by arguing that the spectrum could only be sold by auction and creating figures for presumptive losses around it. However, the Honorable Supreme Court of India, in the Presidential Reference of 2012, upheld the right of the government to frame the policy and said that the norm of common good has to be understood and appreciated in a holistic manner. So what are we inferring from here? The undermining means that we are criticizing the role or the powers of the CAG. To imply that the CAG must only do accounting is as ridiculous as suggesting that a statutory auditor should restrict itself to the accounting just the numbers. We saw that in the Satyam Computers case, and today the auditor is sitting behind bars. As my friend said earlier, according to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the CAG is the most important officer in India because he is looking at the public purse. He is doing so because he is trying to avoid every way in which the Aam Aadmi shouldn't bear the burden of this weakening financial situation by few decisions taken up there. Now, let us highlight the certain places we feel that the CAG of this country has been deteriorating as an institute. Starting off with numbers. In the last few years, the CAG reports have fallen nearly by 75%. In this whole decade, we have seen that in 2015, it went up to its peak a year after the Modi government took charge. The defense audits have fallen from 8 to 0 from 2017 to this present year. The opposition has used these statements to their political advantage to accuse the current government of promoting its fake accountability. However, the BJP, in retaliation, accuses the Congress of them having the most number of scams during their rule, namely the 2G scam, the Commonwealth Games scam, and the Colgate scam. Secondly, we see that since the pandemic year of 2020, the CAG reports have been getting delayed a lot. Usually, the CAG office has always followed this well-established convention of finalizing the report on finance accounts ahead of the budget session so that the audit observations are available to the public during the budget session. The reasons of such failure could be the demonetization and the Rafale deal, which may be seen as a partisan action and could create a crisis of credibility for the institution. And certain auditors have also accused such delay due to not to embarrass the center before the general elections. Now, looking at these reasons, we find that the CAG has fallen because of the power of independence taken from it. To effect as a body, no government in the country should take advantage of its constitutional powers. Now, we as a team are giving suggestions to the CAG on how they can strengthen their hands in this country. We've seen that when a certain scam happens, the CAG reports first to the President and the Parliament. However, all of us know the power of media and how the media reports to public. So we are suggesting over here that the CAG involves the media more, which delivers the news to the public with explanations to aid understanding. This is not to gain publicity for itself, but as a means to make it more effective and more for the people of the country to know the reasons. Secondly, we've seen that there are a vast accumulation of audit reports submitted over the years, both at the center and in the states, and not all the matters have been reported upon which have been discussed in the parliament or the state legislators or the media. Now, it seems desirable to rescue at least some of these important cases from falling into being unaware. What we suggest to the CAG is some past errors, deficiencies and irregularities deserve attention despite the passage of time. An effort to salvage at least a part of this valuable work during the last few years will seem very necessary. Thirdly, we've seen that This department is often encouraged to shed its narrow perspective and look at the bigger picture. However, while looking at the bigger picture, the core function should not be forgotten, and the pursuit of such higher aims should not be at the cost of the basic function. We've seen that an audit is always seen as an examining agency and not as an investigating one. However, it is always suggested that the department goes beyond inquiries and goes beyond books, documents, and papers submitted to it. There should be a thorough investigation of things other than these so that the facts match the reality.